Welcome to Daily 5 for Monday, July 10th, 2023. I have talked often, as many other people have, about the fact that the idea of live service games is almost always one that I just really have no interest in. And I think the model itself has been proven to be a failure at this point. It really just does not seem like something that most consumers actually want. It requires too much of a commitment for companies that are too focused on short-term gains. And generally, when it's been done, the products that have resulted have been not necessarily all terrible, but certainly I'm struggling to think of any of these types of games outside of World of Warcraft, honestly, the one that really, in a sense, defines the idea of what I think most people or most companies maybe have an idea as to what a live service game is. World of Warcraft is probably the one that most companies aspire to get to, one that just has lasted incredibly well and that a lot of people are still devoted players of, and that figured out how to do what it's doing correctly. It's sort of funny that nobody else has been able to match that idea. However, depending on how you want to define live service, because I was thinking about this, there is a game that Lando and I have been playing that I think actually does lend itself very naturally to this type of model, because it has a very specific type of gameplay and has essentially been doing, more or less, a live service type of release. And that is Sniper Elite 5. Now, Sniper Elite 5 is not actually a live service game. I want to be very clear about that in case anybody thinks I misunderstand what a live service game is. It's not. It is not a game that has rolling kind of constant, persistent updates the way that a true or a traditional live service game does. Because every map that you play in the game is a different map. There is not a persistent world, really, with other players that's dynamic and ongoing. That's generally what a lot of live service games aim to do. It's not that. But in terms of a game that the developers appear to want to have some longevity with, that is something that will be constantly updated and gives you reasons to come back and play. Well, by that definition, I think Sniper Elite 5 is a magnificent template for a live service game if we define it in that manner. Every time there's a new release of a map, Lando and I immediately want to play it. No matter what else we're doing, we will drop everything to jump into that game and play whatever map that is. And we have not been disappointed yet. It has been, every time there's been something new in terms of a map, it has been stellar. And it's again, a very specific type of gameplay. I think that's, in some aspects, where some of these other live service attempts have failed, is if you look at the negative reviews and what people complain about them, very often it's that the gameplay just feels like it's nothing special. That it's either just button mashing with waves of enemies that are all the same, or that the gameplay overall just doesn't feel like it offers anything unique. Now, you could make, depending on how you look at it, a similar case against Sniper Elite 5, because you are fighting essentially the same maybe 5 or 6 enemy types, but because the gameplay mechanic is so strong, because of the way that the presentation is done, you don't care. So yes, the enemy types may be the same, but your way of attacking them, your approach to a map can change every time. In fact, one of the aspects of the game is that you unlock different starting points, and they can be massively different in how you attack a map compared to the default way that the game started you out with. So the game itself, just in its ability to mold to your play style, that is the unique element, along with the way, again, that it presents this very specific type of play. Now, if you don't like sniping people, well, then you were never playing this game to begin with. So that would be the one thing where it's going to be hard to bring in players who are used to running and gunning. This just isn't that type of game. You can kind of do it, but it's clearly not made for that. It is made for a certain type of player. But there again, live service games are all often seem to be trying to appeal to everybody somehow. And by doing that, it's the old jack of all trades, master of none problem. So it is interesting because live service games, and I've been one of these people who slams them all the time. Yet, depending on how you have that definition, I think Sniper Elite 5, I would argue, is a live service game in a specific type of way. And it's a great example of how it can be done well. Take something that's already got a really unique aspect and keep putting things out to keep people engaged with it. So just something I thought I'd throw out there. Feel free to agree or disagree. Later.